Boy, it's slow to start. There it goes. Something I forgot to mention about Chapter 5 is feel free to explain the needs analysis process and discovery process to the customer. Explain, because there might be some pushback on why you're asking for all this access, and it's important to have them understand that you're doing it for the benefit of giving them the best possible product and eliminating any things they don't need to give them the best price and best value for your solution. So when you convey that you're doing it in their best interest and as part of the process, and explain what you're going to do and why it is you're going to do it, then there's usually less pushback on the type of access that you need and the type of information you're trying to collect. Chapter 6 is about the business value discovery. And I should mention the chapter goals at the start of each chapter. That's right there. So when you read each chapter, be sure to look at the chapter goals on the first page. So like for Chapter 6, the goals are learn how to avoid the 3 crimes of discovery, understand how to maintain focus on the business issues and avoid the technical distractions, and third, be able to gather the problem, results, impact, and evidence for key business issues. So Chapter 6 talks about how discovery is a continual process throughout the sales cycle. It doesn't just happen at the beginning. It's something that you need to work at throughout the entire process. And even once you've delivered closed the sale and delivered the object, discovery is important for ongoing relationships. You want to call up with service requests. You want to call up with service offers and say, hey, do you need us to come out to do some maintenance? Do you need a follow-up? How's it working for you? What kind of, are you seeing value in it? Do you need, those kind of calls will give you feedback about how your product is performing in the field, how much they value it, and potentially if they need more, because you can then slip in a sales pitch to offer to sell them more or to expand your business relationship with that company. When I was in sales, we used to have a option that if we were sort of out of leads and out of people to call, they would give us numbers of past customers that they hadn't had contact with a while, and we would call them up and ask them if their products needed serviced, if they needed cleaned and serviced, and start a discussion about them. And half the time when we start those discussions, it leads to them realizing how much they value those products and wanting to get more of them for themselves or for others as gifts. So when you're doing discovery, there's three major mistakes that people make in the discovery process when you're talking to clients or potential clients. And TAG is the acronym for these 3 mistakes, what you should not do. The first thing is tell. You do not want to tell a customer anything. You want to listen to the customer. You want to hear what they have to say. You don't want to you don't want to jump in and assume you know what they're trying to tell you. You want to fully hear them, their problems, and be an active listener. And make sure you're taking notes on what they're telling you too, because that's crucial information that you need for the for the sales process. So don't try to put words in their mouth, and really be that active listener. Second thing that you don't want to do is accept everything they tell you. So you are an active listener, but then you want to expand upon what they're telling you. So unless they get the words out and tell you the problems, you want to let them go and get all their issues out, all their challenges, and you can provide prompts and say, is that the extent of it, or is there more? Is that and keep keep prodding for more information. As they're identifying the problem, the need, don't just accept saying, because I gave an example when we were talking with the questions about. I should record this for the offline students who didn't hear it. If I say I have an RFP because my car isn't working, and you respond that, oh, I'm going to sell you a new car since your car's not working, and someone else responds, you're out of gas, here's I'll sell you some gas. And if my car is out of gas, then I'll do business with the guy who's selling me gas, not the person selling me a new car, because they heard my problem, they accepted One person just accepted, oh, your car's not working, it must be dead, you need a new one. If you push back, you might find a more critical need and say, you've got, I don't need to sell you cars, I just need to sell you gas. Let's set up a contract for me to supply the gas you need or the maintenance you need. Maybe it's a maintenance issue and you can provide the maintenance they need to keep things running rather than have to buy new products. So sometimes the customer isn't aware of what the true problem is. So you want to provide some pushback then on finding a better solution. And this book is really good with examples. So as we go through these, there's the case studies that you've read, and those give you really good illustrations about these different concepts to really give you a sense of what they're describing. So again, the customer, the customer might be right when they tell you what a problem is, or they might be partially right or totally incorrect. So you really have to dig into the reasoning behind the statements, or you're solving the wrong problem and selling them a car when you should be selling them gas to solve their problem. The last mistake you can make is guessing. You really don't want to guess at anything. If you aren't sure, don't guess, just ask, because it doesn't cost you much to ask for clarification, to ask for clarity. So if you think you know what they need, say, oh, I think they need an Apple solution, not a, they want Apple products because I saw them all using iPhones. Don't guess they're limited to Apple. Ask and say, so is this solution limited to within the domain of Apple products, or can we look for wider solutions that with other platforms? You really don't want to limit yourself or try to assume you know what they need. Let's see. So some other important information is just having knowledge about what you're doing. So you want to make sure you've done your homework and you know as much about the company as possible. Know their issues and have a solution. If you come in blind, not knowing what the company does, who their key stakeholders are, what kind of products they produce, where your solution fits into the grand scheme of things, you could be the least significant thing in their entire company, something they could even do without. It's just something they'd like to have. And if you don't realize your hierarchy there and your level of importance or the level of that they see you at, they're not going to be as enthusiastic as putting money towards you or your solution, unless you can build value, unless you can show them that they don't understand. Again, pushing back on that critical need and say, look, you don't think this is a problem now, you don't think maintenance is a problem now, but all these things will fail within X number of years, and by investing in this maintenance now, you could extend their life, you could double their life, and look how much that's going to save you in the long run. So maintenance, again, may be something that was low on their priority list, because again, if it's running now, why put money into it? And that's executives who are non-technical have that short-sightedness that they say, oh, it ran fine today without maintenance, it'll run fine tomorrow without maintenance. And preventative maintenance is about fixing it now so you don't have to fix it or replace it later. And so it's key to do those proper investments and to show why that needs to be done. Some of the other things they mention in here is cost impact comparison, looking at whether you create value or not. So the a problem that a business faces, or a component a business needs for their final product. You could be selling a subsystem, a subcomponent. You could be selling a software solution, a hardware solution, something they need. Do they understand the value of that component? Do they understand its importance? And so you want to make sure you're doing a cost impact comparison that says, look, this is what the solution is going to cost you, but here's the impact it's going to have in your business. and showing that you create value, that not buying your product, not buying your software, your hardware, your solution, your service, whatever, is going to cost them more money than they would be paying you. The best position you can be in business is that you can offer a product to someone that will save them money or make them more money than that product cost them to buy from you, because they see the net plus out of that. They see that as increasing their bottom line. So it's really important that you sell that cost impact comparison, that you understand it, that it's accurate, and you can convey it to them in a way that they will understand. There's a table at the very end that has the table 6.2 that says the customer impact calibration matrix, and basically it talks about the product or solution that you're offering, or the problem that you're addressing. And if you and the customer both perceive something as low impact, you have to take a look and see if it makes sense to even do business. Because if this is a low impact benefit and it's going to cost, it might not be cost effective for them to address it. Let's say they have a leaky, a simple thing in your home, like you have a leaky sink. Well, is it better for me to pay $100 for a new fixture and a plumber to come in and change that out, or just to deal with a leak and pay a little extra on my water bill every month? You make a comparison there, and if you and the plumber both agree it's a low impact problem, it's not worth it to you to hire the plumber to come out and fix that and buy that part. If you see it as low impact, but the customer sees it as high impact, it's likely the customer did not share all the information with you. Because if you say, oh, well, I can fix this for you, but it's not going to gain you much, and they tell you, no, it's going to have a huge impact on our bottom line, there's something they're not telling you. There's something you're not on the same understanding of what you're offering. Either they're not telling you something, or they misunderstand what you're offering them. And so it's really important that you compare your assessment of impact and importance to see why there's such a disconnect there, why there's a difference. If they see it as low impact and you see it as high impact, there's another mismatch there. That's, you have an understanding of why it's going to be important for them, but they don't, which is likely the salesperson's fault for not selling the importance well enough, or not selling, not sharing the information in a way that the customer can understand, that shows the importance of this problem and why it needs to be addressed. Now, if the customer says this is a high impact solution, and you agree that it's a high impact solution, then you're in the perfect place to do business, because the customer knows that it's going to greatly benefit them to buy your product and buy your solution. You see it's going to greatly benefit them, and when there's great value, there's great room for profitability, where they're willing to pay a lot of money for what you're offering, and you can therefore make a good amount of money on providing that service or that item to them. One of the important things they have in this chapter is the first law of discovery. Every business issue can be reduced. Either that number is too large and someone wants to make it smaller, or that number is too small and someone wants to make it larger. So this is a very, very powerful statement from page 68. I think the entire book, the entire sales profession, can be summarized by this one statement, that every business issue can be reduced to a single number. Either the number is too large and someone wants to make it smaller, or the number is too small and someone wants it to be larger. So think about the issues you face in business. I can't produce, and right now I can't produce enough vaccine for everyone who needs it. If I can improve your production time, I can reduce your production time, I can make that number smaller. I can increase your production speed, I can make that number bigger. I can reduce the amount of raw materials you need. I can increase your throughput or your efficiency so you get more for the same raw materials. Everything you want to sell to someone is either to make their business work better, or to make them more money in the end. That I will, you're making this much money, I will make you more money. This costs you this much money, I'm going to save you money and do something that will cost you less. So it's all about moving a number higher or moving a number lower. Moving the number higher, when you want to make money, moving your debts and expenses to a lower number. So the art of being what's called a consultative pre-sales engineer is to find that number, the direction it needs to move, and by how much, and what that movement is worth to somebody important who has a budget. Meaning that if you understand how much they want to shift that, how much more money they want to make, or how much an expense costs them and how much they want to reduce that, then they're spending $1 million on this item a year. You can provide them the same item, but it only costs you $500,000 to supply that. So you can go to them and say, hey, if you give me $750,000, I will take care of this thing that cost you $1 million a year. And you're making $250,000 out of that. So you want to identify, so consultative sales, you're consulting with the client and you're finding what that number is to make them more money or to save them expenses, how much they want to move that number and what it's worth to them to change over and use your solution. And you convince the decision makers. So key concept here. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording now. Give me a second to find it. Here we go. So we'll stop it. And so again, at this point, this is where the online students should go over to the discussion in Blackboard and write out your responses to the discussion, these discussion posts.